It's time to wind down, time to wise up. Discussing life, exploring the word, gaining wisdom with encouraging words. It's time for Tea with Tiff.
Good evening and welcome to Tea Time with Tiff. I am your host, Prophet Tiffany Henderson, and I am delighted that you chose to spend your Sunday evening here with me. I have a different show tonight. It's going to be an amazing show, but different than any other show I've done before, and I'm excited about it. I am excited because we are going to talk tonight about Black excellence, why your children should go to an HBCU. But before we get started, there's a few things I want to make sure that that I ask you, and that is to share this broadcast. Make sure you share, you like it, you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you chat live with us tonight. There's many things that we're going to go over tonight, many different areas concerning HBCUs and Black excellence. And we all will be available to chat live with you so that you can get your questions answered. Because as you can see, all three of us here have on our great HBCU t-shirts and shirts representing our various schools. And they're going to introduce themselves in their school, so don't worry, we're going to get to that. I, for one, am wearing the illustrious Howard University in Washington, D.C., home of the Bison. Thank you very much. And I'm going to introduce them in a second, but I want to give you a little background on HBCUs here in the United States, just in case you didn't know. For example, I don't know if you know, but there are 101 HBCUs in the United States. The very first one was started in 1837. That is Cheyney University in Pennsylvania. This school and every other HBCU was started to educate newly freed and emancipated slaves. So those slaves who made it up north were able to go to Cheyney and get educated after they were freed from slavery or escaped from slavery. So the whole point of starting these universities, these schools at the time, they were really just schools and training centers, was because there was no place where Black people were able to be educated. No one wanted us educated. As you know, all of the different slave laws, they could not learn how to read. They couldn't learn how to write. It was against the law for them to ever be educated. So these institutions were created to have a place, a safe place, where Black people can be educated. And so it became places for excellence amongst Blacks. So, we have to figure out a way to educate ourselves in a world that doesn't understand us. And how relevant is that even today? So before I go further, I want to give these young men here an opportunity to introduce themselves and their HBCU that they're representing, so that we can get started with this talk tonight of HBCU. So please let us know your name and your HBCU.
Y'all already know me. But for those of you who don't, I'm Apostle Larry Henderson. I'm a proud graduate of the Tennessee State University in Nashville, Tennessee. Go Big Blue. Tennessee State is the home of the Tennessee State University Tigers, the Aristocrats, established in 1912 to think, work, and serve. So that's my HBCU.
And my name is Brian Johnson. I am a proud graduate of Central State University. It is based in Wilberforce, Ohio. It is it is the only Black public school that is HBCU in Ohio. It was founded in 1887, and as Prophet Tiffany just mentioned, that school sits right on the Underground Railroad. A lot of the mulatto children from former slaves came right through there and were educated by Payne Theological Seminary, and the church and the school was really birthed out of the AME Church.
All right, see, there's things you didn't know. So I'm excited because so my story is a little different, and we're gonna get into our stories and how we chose our HBCUs. I went to Howard because I had a cousin. She technically wasn't even really my cousin, but she was my cousin. And she went to Howard. My cousin Lynette, she was actually my aunt's goddaughter, but you know, that means she my cousin.
That's your cousin.
And she went to Howard, and I was saying that I wanted to go to Howard because I heard of it from some of my teachers, because, you know, where we come from, we all from Dayton, Ohio. And I had a lot of black teachers who all were either AKAs or Deltas or Alphas or Omegas. And we were like, I mean, I was just floored because no one in my family went to college, let alone was in a sorority or fraternity. And so they talked about going to college, and they talked about these things. And so when my cousin said she went to Howard, I was so excited, like somebody I knew was going to Howard. Mm-hmm. And when she graduated, I was in the 8th grade. And my aunt asked me if I wanted to go to her graduation. And I said, yes. So they took me to Howard University for graduation. And I will say I was disappointed. And hear me out. Because it was graduation week, so they was clowning. Them cats had toilet paper all in the trees. It was trash everywhere. I was like, what? All my hopes and dreams. I was like, really, this is what it look like? But then, you know, of course, they was like, this is graduation week. They are excited. So, the students is living it up. You know, just don't look at that. But anyway, it still really didn't diminish the fact that I wanted to go there. So I went there directly after high school. And so I'm not going to get into all the rest of the story, but I chose Howard because it's a school that I heard was one of the best in the land. I didn't hear that Harvard was the best. My educator said Howard was the best. And that really was very influential in my decision, because the people who I thought were black excellence, they all said Howard was black excellence. And even though, and they also said Central State, because I had some of my teachers went to Central State University, but they were like, listen, you can go to Howard. And I was like, really? So that really was my story, how I chose Howard. How did you all choose your HBCU? I'll start with Dr. B. How did you choose your HBCU?
So that's a great question. I think I didn't start off at Central State. I went to Wright State University, which is a public school just up the road. And while I was there, I was just telling Good Apostle that at that particular time, it was less than 1% black students at Wright State University. And so I didn't receive a lot of help. So I was coming into class. I was one of the only minorities in the classes, 300-400 students, and I'm the only one there. And I really couldn't get any help. And so when I started to look around for help, I went to the brothers who I saw who were studying. They were alphas. I'm like, hey, I need some help. They were like, hey, we can't help you with this chemistry. You're going to need to go to Central State. So they literally sent me, as I was paying tuition at a white school, to go to Central State so that I could get help. And that was really my experience to go to Central State for knowledge, right? And so it was strange, but in that sense, Central State really became a place for me to feel like it kind of chose me. It kind of left a little mark. I didn't go there originally, but they were certainly there to help me. And years after that, I ended up going back there, enrolling, and ended up graduating in '96. So love CSU. Yeah.
How did you choose yours?
I actually went, a deacon at my church took a group of us from all over the city of Dayton. I actually went with them on 2 separate black college tours. And so we toured all of the black colleges, Kentucky State, Tennessee State. We went all the way down to Tougaloo and Alcorn and Albany State and Tuskegee. We went all the way down to Mississippi Valley State in the middle of nowhere. We went down to Jackson State. We went to all of the HBCUs. At that time, I was in search of a computer engineering program. And so the first thing that stuck out in my mind out of all the HBCUs was when we visited Tennessee State. I saw one of the black professors there explaining AC and DC circuits to one of the students there and helping him after class actually in the lab. And actually while we were going through the engineering building there, I believe it was my junior year in high school, that image just stuck out to me. Like he was explaining it to him, giving him hands-on hands-on education from someone that looked like me though. And he definitely looked like and I won't say who that professor was. That actually became one of the professors that got on my last nerves too. But and I would say I didn't choose Tennessee State. Tennessee State chose me. And the way that it chose me is I had 3 schools I was trying to get into at the time: Tennessee State, North Carolina State, and Iowa State. I don't know why I was infatuated with state schools at the time, but one of those 3 schools. But North Carolina State and Iowa State wasn't trying to give a brother no money though. Yeah. And so as I was trying to scrounge pennies and figure out my financial aid and figure out how my single mother was going to pay for me to go to college, which I knew she couldn't do, Tennessee State sent me a letter and said I had a full presidential scholarship. So, hey, yeah, hallelujah.
It chose you.
It chose me.
It chose me, and I wanted to play football at the time because I thought I was a pretty good football player at the time. And the new head coach actually went to school with my mother at the time, and he actually recruited me and called to speak to my mother, who he graduated from Dunbar High School with in Dayton. So once all of that happened, I knew that it was in the divine order of the Father. So it was a foregone conclusion for me. So that's how Tennessee State chose me. Yeah.
So, all right, tell us more about your schools. Like, what makes Central State, TSU, what makes it special though?
Okay.
You want to go? Oh, so okay. So when I was growing up, a lot of my teachers were Centralians, and these people they were principals and they were on the school board. So they were people that I really looked up to. And I think Central State was really a teacher's institution, meaning they trained teachers. That's right. What they did best. Mm-hmm. And, I didn't know that was going to be something that I would end up doing because when I came up, Central State was like in the 80s. It had the reputation of a party school, right? and so when I got there though, because I had kind of gone this indirect method and route, I really felt like this was a place that really welcomed me. It felt like home. They helped me. I felt like they left a deposit in me when I had that experience when I was at Wright State, and it was affordable, right? And I think that's for many black students. Trying to take a chance on college, it comes down to dollars and cents and who's going to invest in you. And so Central State did that. It was affordable. Wilberforce University, another black university, is right across the street, but it's a private school and it's more expensive. But Central State was just love, right? When I got there, it was love. The professors loved me. My teachers loved me. Even the Indian professors loved me, right? Mm-hmm. It was just love. Mm-hmm. Everywhere I went at CSU, and it was just a very special place. I was a little older at the time, and so I had a little better appreciation too for all that it was and all that I could make it be. And so I hit the ground running and got involved, and I ended up Mr. College of Arts and Sciences, and I went all in though. So it's a special place. I mean, and it had been torn up. There was a big tornado. Took it out in '74, and they had pretty much rebuilt the whole campus. And so just an amazing university and a lot of history. Like I said, National Underground Railroad. I just felt like there was so much history there. W.E. Du Bois lived around the corner from the university. It's just a special, special place in the country. So that was the reason for me. It was an easy choice at that point.
What's so special about Tennessee State?
There are several things that are so special about Tennessee State. I'll talk about 2 of them. One, Tennessee State did an excellent job of making sure that I was prepared for college before I ever stepped foot on campus. Tennessee State made sure that I was recruited to what's called the Engineering Concepts Institute, ECI. And we stayed on campus for 2 months in the Engineering Concepts Institute before we ever had a credit, before the fall semester began in the engineering college, locked down on campus, not able to leave, just doing everything engineering, math, and science with a group of entering freshmen who I'm all still friends with today. And we studied together day and night for the 4.5 years that we were at Tennessee State University, because they drilled us, they prepared us. I don't know if this politically, they cracked the whip on us.
Yes.
Day and night until we were ready for the first day of school. And then they made sure that we all had jobs in corporate America the day we graduated from college. So that's the first thing that's special about Tennessee State University. The second thing that's so special for me is, y'all know I'm a church kid. So when my parents took me in the summertime to drop me off at the Engineering Concepts Institute, of course, we started looking for a church home. The church home that we found that at that time was at the World Baptist Center was Mount Zion Baptist Church, where Bishop Joseph Warren Walker III is still the pastor. He's also the presiding bishop for Full Gospel Baptist Fellowship. And I just fell in love with that church. Like, that church was all I ever wanted my Baptist church at home to be as a young person. And when I went to that church, even in the summertime, it was filled with students from Tennessee State. Right. I'm like, wow, like this school that I'm trying to go to, all of the students are in church. And so that was great to me, because black colleges have this fiber of Christianity.
Yeah. Yes. They do.
That's, you probably would ask that too, but that's one of the things that's special about HBCUs is that it's not forced on you to be Christian. It's not said that you have to be Christian to go to a HBCU, but there's just this fiber, because the majority of black Americans are Christians.
Sure.
And there's just this fiber in the songs, in the professors. I'm so glad I go to CSU.
Hey,
I'm so glad I go to CSU. You see what I'm saying?
We all got the song.
Singing glory, hallelujah.
Yeah. I went to CSU.
Right.
Glory, hallelujah.
I go to Howard U.
Just to step foot on campus and hear that song, whether you're a Christian or not, you can feel like, okay, there's something different about this place. Not just to see other young people singing the song and that song is a Christian song, but to see the president, to see the provost, to see my engineering dean singing the song. It gives a familial sense. It's an uplifting spirit that we're going in the right direction. We're in the right place. Yep.
So I'll tell you, when I was at Howard, the thing that made Howard special to me was its rich legacy. Yeah. I mean, like, first of all, when you walk on the campus, you can feel the spirit of the ancestors. Like you walk on there and you know that you are in the midst of greatness. Yeah. Because the thing about Howard, everyone walks on the yard, whether they go there or not. Celebrities from all over the world come to Howard and walk the yard just to see what's happening. And what's happening on the yard every day is something new. Right. It's something special every day. When I saw all of the deans and the presidents, all of them clearly were Omegas, and they were all in a circle around the sundial on the yard, and they held hands and they sang and they prayed, and then they did all they hollering, who all. I was sitting there like, this is amazing. And then of course all the Deltas did it, and then all the AKAs did it, and all the Sigmas, all the different people that come there. And then you see pockets of ciphers where they're rapping and freestyling together, flowing off of one another. Then on the other side of the yard, you see them talking about political issues and debating what should be happening next. All of this is happening simultaneously on the yard. That's right. And I'm telling you, I've since never even seen an environment like that, where black people are doing amazing things together. Yeah. Right. It was a place where no matter where you came from, no matter what your interests are, you found a family there.
Yeah.
You
Right.
found some people who were like, yeah, this is what we about though. And everyone, no matter what, if they were a part of a sorority, fraternity, or a part of an interest group, or very political or anti-political, no matter what though, you was a bison and you family.
That's
Right.
right.
And it was something that you cannot find that anywhere. There wasn't the beef that you find in neighborhoods where people don't understand who they are.
Right.
Because the truth about it, when you're on these campuses, you know you are part of the black elite.
Yeah.
Come on, let's just talk about the
Right.
truth. And you have to, there's an expectation that you came here.
For excellence.
Yes, for excellence. The W.E.B. Du Bois talented tenth is true.
It is true.
We are
To
the
go
talented
beyond.
tenth, and you must receive this good education, take it back to the community you came from, and educate some more.
Right.
So it's that type of culture, and that's what I really want to kind of go with this is, how do you see the culture of an HBCU, especially since, you know, all of us have since gone to to PWIs, and for those of you who don't know, a PWI is a predominantly white institution. So we went from HBCUs to PWIs, or you went from a PWI to a HBCU. What do you think is the difference in the culture?
Yeah, you want to start that?
No, sure. The thing that was ingrained in my mind going to an HBCU that was not ingrained in my mind at a predominantly white institution, it was ingrained in my mind from day one when I was at Tennessee State that I had to do more to succeed than my counterparts.
Yes.
That was in every fiber. Tennessee State, my experience at Tennessee State also was very presentation oriented, and there were just things that we were told that we couldn't do, that other groups of people might get away with doing in corporate America when we graduated. For example, if I gave a presentation at Tennessee State University, I could not look at the screen. All of my professors would say, "Why are you reading off of the screen? We can read." Your job is to know what's on the screen before the presentation starts, and you just need to speak extemporaneously
To your audience.
to your audience.
That's right.
Like
That's
you know the material. Explain to us what you're presenting, and you know we'll read what you have on the screen.
That's right.
Yeah.
And there better not be one grammatical error on the screen. That better not happen. Right?
This is the days before PowerPoint.
Yes. And you know, this is back in the overhead projector days
That's
too.
right.
And it better be perfect.
On your transparency.
Yeah, on your transparency.
Yeah.
You know, the fast path to an F is to have something out of line, right? And so that one major difference was it was ingrained into my mind that when I got into corporate America, I couldn't do what I see my counterparts doing, but I had to do at minimum at least twice as much as my counterparts were
That's
doing.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, that I would definitely say that was something certainly that was instilled in us as well. You know, being in science, I think one of the great things just about going there is understanding that you can do it and you can be it. I think, you know, I didn't even see scientists, black scientists, you know, until I went to the HBCU, and I'm like, oh, it's okay to study physics. It's okay to study chemistry in this way. And so I think you're absolutely right. That is something that I think that they definitely instill to you. I think confidence too. You know, there's a little bit of a transition coming out of some of these public schools sometimes with what you get before you get there. And so they are very good about helping you make that transition. Like you said, you had that program, but they get you engrafted in. There's help there. You can get a job there. They want to keep you on campus. They want to keep you focused. And it's really a special thing. I think that's the difference. I went to Wright State first, and like I told you, I didn't get a lot of help there originally. And so this place was some place that I knew no matter where I went, somebody was there and they were going to give me some help, whether I was a major or not.
Yeah, and I think that is the key, one thing that you all are pointing out is that the culture at an HBCU, because obviously we went to 3 different ones, but the culture is same in that the professors, the teachers care about the students.
Yeah, they were invested.
They care about who you are and how well you're going to do.
Yep.
And just because I didn't say this in the beginning, but just so everyone knows, right now, I obviously I have a JD. I'm an attorney. This man right here has an MBA. He's a pastor and leader of the community. He's doing a million things. And this man over here is a doctor. He has a PhD in molecular toxicology, some other stuff. What you call it?
Yeah. So yeah, I have a PhD in molecular toxicology from the University of Cincinnati, but I owe that degree to Central State because
See, you couldn't even hardly say it. See, just
I
too much.
I wouldn't even be prepared to go there. They prepared me to go to medical school.
But that's the thing, like when you go to these schools,
I was equipped.
You're equipped and you have a proper foundation. Yeah. And the thing about me, for example, like we're the exact opposite. I went to a HBCU first, and then I transferred to a PWI for reasons that had nothing to do with the school. Like I literally went to Nashville because we was gonna get married eventually. So I went on ahead and made the transition. I do not recommend that at all to any young lady who is thinking about, oh, my boy, stay where you at.
I'm glad you transferred.
Are you glad?
Hallelujah. Glory, hallelujah.
Glory, hallelujah.
After 21 years, I'm still glad you transferred.
So I transferred schools for love, but it's clearly a PSA. Do not do that. Because you don't know if you're going to get married or not. It just so happens that I did. And it lasted. But it don't work out that way for everybody. But anyway.
Don't hate it until you try.
But
hilarious.
you know, the truth is, it was one of the hardest decisions I had to make in terms of what, you know, this was my dream to be at Howard. But of course, I had to think about my future. But one of the things I want to kind of bring out is people. I hear this a lot. You know, do you think you get a quality education? You know, what's the academic rigor like at an HBCU as opposed to a PWI? And I have my thoughts clear because my undergraduate years were split between 2, but I want to hear from you. What do you think is the difference in the academic rigor between the 2 schools, the 2 types of schools?
So, here. So I was a chemistry major, and I did chemistry and double majored in biology. I had taken so many credits by the time I finished. But the science is the science. The material is the material. So when you go, one of the differentiating classes for chemistry majors at the time, and still is organic chemistry. It's organic chemistry whether you are at Harvard, Howard, it does not matter. If you don't have your principles together, you're not passing this class. You can't change this or tweak it. It's really on you to be vested, and the teachers are vested in you getting it. But to me, there's no difference between those. When I took my foundation from Central State and went to medical school at University of Cincinnati, I was not lost. There were no missing beats to my drum. I was able to go right to biochemistry, right to organic. I was just as prepared, or if not more, than other people because of the presentation things that we had to do. We had a MARC program, which was Minority Access to Research Careers, which was a program geared to help Black children matriculate and to go on to graduate level education.
Right.
And so that they were getting Black scientists, they were paying stipends, they wanted you to present. I was more prepared than my colleagues who got there. When I got to medical school at the University of Cincinnati, my white counterparts were eating Pop-Tarts in class. There was no honor, right? I was more than prepared for medical school when I got there. There was no gap in my education.
Come on, I like that. Go ahead.
My bachelor's degree is in electrical engineering with a computer concentration. I literally spent all day, all night in the College of Engineering and Technology at Tennessee State University for 4.5 years. With a group of students who we all study all day and all night. I still haven't seen a party. I still haven't been to the club. I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting to be grown enough to go to the club. I didn't see it. So if there was some academic rigor that was missing from my curriculum, I didn't know, because I was in the engineering building all day and all night.
Right.
So I didn't feel like when I got into corporate America that I missed anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I felt like I was overeducated.
Come on.
That's what I felt like. I felt like that I worked twice as hard as the people that graduated with me from other schools, and I was trying to figure out what to do with all this information that I had received. So that was my experience.
Yep.
You know, I found that the academic rigor was not greater at the PWI I went to. It was just different.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for example, now the thing is, I was a communications major at Howard, which has one of the best communication schools in the country. So much so, when I transferred, the dean of the communications department at Vanderbilt didn't even have a communication school. They just had a department. Mm-hmm. So the dean was like, listen, you're getting you got a stellar department at Howard. Like, that school is one of the best. I know about it. I've been in this business a long time. He was a much older white gentleman. And he was like, listen, you came from Howard and you got all these A's that you done brought over from Howard. Because, you know, I did have all those A's I brought over from Howard. I'm just saying. That's right. And he was like, I'm going to transfer all of your credits here because that is a much better program, communications program, than what we have here at Vanderbilt, which was a top 20 school. At the time, we were number 12. And he was like, no, this is better. The difference was when I got into these classes at Vanderbilt, there was not a personal touch to anything. Mm-hmm. My professors could care less who I was. Sure. My professors at Vanderbilt just taught me information or told me to read a book, but they did not make any efforts to get to know me, my strengths, weaknesses, anything that would help me. Right. Whereas when I was at Howard, I sat at the feet of Dr. Sabayi Thomas. Right. Like, this woman made such an impact on my life. She's the one talking about presentation skills. You will not use a verbal filler in her room.
That's right.
You will not. If you sit and if you give a presentation, if you speak aloud and you use but, like, you will get cut off. Dr. Sabayi Thomas did not play games. That's right. And then when she saw something in you, she said, well, Tiffany, I see you in here every day. You speak well. Why aren't you on the forensic team? You know, Dr. Thomas, I don't know. So she said, come meet me after school, after class, meet me at 5 o'clock in this building, because I think you'll be great. If we did you could do mock trial with us. On the forensics team, we did all of the poetry and readings and solo arcs. And that is what was amazing to me. But it was my teacher, my professor. You know, let me listen. This woman was so amazing. And then, you know, the other thing about Dr. Thomas, she was a show enough doctor, but she was also a preacher. So she would preach because, I mean, everybody say Dr. Thomas was a preacher. She said,
no way to escape.
Listen, she was like, I know you got the Holy Ghost. I'm like, you're right.
What's happening right now?
I'm so glad.
Listen, Dr. Thomas did not waste time to let me know. She knew I had the Holy Ghost in her room. Wow. She said, you need to be on my team. But again, that was the difference between what happens at an HBCU and then what happens at a PWI, because, and I was there. I even went to to the office hours of my professors. And again, it was just like, okay, did you do the reading? Mm-hmm. You know, okay. I mean, yeah. Whereas you go to the office hours of your professors at a black school, they're going to sit there with you and work through it with you.
Well, and some accountability is getting ready to
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yeah. And I really and truly just believe that this is the difference. And for those of you who are watching, the whole point of this show is because we want to, obviously this is Black History Month. We're excited about it all the time. Yep. But we want to show you who are contemplating, who have children, who are, getting ready to go to college or thinking about it. In your college visits, visit an HBCU. Yep. when you're thinking about it, make it an option. What I've learned is that a lot of parents are not even making HBCUs an option for their kids.
Right.
At the very least, let them see one.
Yeah.
Let them go to one, even if they don't. I mean, because I get it. Money isn't, because we're going to talk about this. Money is an issue, and they may not get a scholarship to the HBCU, and because that is really one of the issues happening right now. PWIs have greater endowments than HBCUs, and so they can offer scholarships that HBCUs cannot often. But at least if you show your children, if you let them know that this is where you can get some family, because he benefited from one before he was actually a student. Connect them to one. Hey, look, we got you enrolled at Wright State, but I'm gonna need you to roll through CSU.
Sounds terrible, but it was a true
but
story.
It's true. It's true.
It's terrible.
So we're talking about this. We're gonna all say it together. The number one thing that got on everybody's nerves at the beginning of every year at the HBCU, what was it called? Registration.
Well, getting purged.
Getting purged.
Yep. No money in the system.
No money in the system. You can't get validated. I'm like, I just want my validation sticker.
Standing in line for 2 days.
Oh my goodness. So I don't want to just, we talk about all the wonderful things, but there are some things at HBCUs now. I think those things have changed.
They don't do that anymore.
Because, I mean, at the time, though, clearly we're old now. But at the time, we all went to 3 different schools but the same experience.
There was no online registration.
There's no online registration. You had to stand in line, and you in line for 4 hours, 5 hours. And when you finally get up to the line,
In line for 2 days.
listen, Miss Mary is going to stand up there and be like,
Hey.
you got your social security card? Where your paper at? Well, Miss Mary, I left it at the door. Well, you have to get back in line.
No, you in the wrong line.
You in the wrong line. Oh.
The line you need is on the other side of campus. Another 4-hour line.
Are you serious right now? You need to go to financial aid. And financial aid always had a 10-hour line.
Why is your money always funny?
Why your money funny?
And you got a scholarship.
I'm like, I got a scholarship.
Well, I don't see it in the system.
Hey, I used to bring our registrars food. I was in line so long. I'm like, and quiet as it's kept, I think that's even though it's one of those things that it may not have been looked on as a pleasant, what it taught you was perseverance.
It did teach you perseverance.
Because
Come on.
You needed to go get this thing. And it was more than just your education. I swear I would bring these registrars food before it was time. Before it's time to get in this line, I needed to get this food in there. Miss McGee, you need a sandwich?
Yeah.
But 2 weeks before.
Yeah, right.
And it taught you self-advocacy as well.
Yes, self-advocacy. Come on, that's
that's
good.
real.
Hey, Sister Odessa, Sister Jack, you look so nice today. If you could, if you wouldn't mind, Sister Jackson, could you I know you can just push that
That
button
only
right
worked
there.
for the brothers. Because first of all,
Don't
there was
laugh.
no men at these registration lines.
I didn't see
None
no
of it. It was only
Hey.
women. They look at us like, girl, you better not even think about it.
And that's special about HBCUs too, because when you look across the counter, you see grandma, you see auntie.
Yes, it's all your aunties.
You
yes.
see your church mothers from church.
You
And
do.
hey, get your mouth together.
Yeah.
Get your mind right. Get your manners, get your attitude together, because
Your respect.
your
That's right.
respect.
You better do it.
That's true.
What do you think? Give us an example of something you will find at an HBCU that you won't find anywhere else. Oh, I might have triggered something with that.
Well, like you said, I think one of the things that's special is Black homecoming, right?
Yes.
Um,
And black marching bands.
Yeah. So, hey, the marching bells, we were the Marauders, and our bells could shake that thing. Hey, that's all I know. Listen, hey. Listen, when homecoming, but it was a special time. You got legacy coming back.
Yes.
It's just a rich experience. You see college graduates coming back, bringing their children back, and continuing in that legacy and pride. And I think there's nothing better than black homecomings. As a matter of fact, I love my homecoming, but I would go to Central State or Howard. I would make a road trip. I'd go to Jackson State, Tennessee State, Kentucky State. We would make a road trip for homecoming.
Listen.
Nothing like a black
homecoming. At black colleges. Woo!
Come on.
Jesus.
I would say second and third generation black PhDs and black professionals.
Yes. Yes.
That's what you can witness at HBCUs, where you can go and when homecoming comes and you can see someone bring their mother and grandmother, but grandma is a doctor.
Yes, or a lawyer or a judge.
Right.
Yes.
Yep.
Or a lawyer or a judge who went to at Tennessee State, who went to Meharry Medical School
Come
also,
on. Yeah.
etc. And so you can see the legacy being passed down, not only educationally, but also fraternally as well through many different organizations. And that's very powerful for you to see, especially as a first generation college goer.
It was huge for me.
And I'm telling you, I think that's real. Those two in a nutshell are the main things that you're going to find at an HBCU that you won't find anywhere else. And I'm telling you, the thing that I love with my first football game at Howard is when I saw those two things come together. When I walked onto the field, like, you know, when I went into the stadium, and there were, first of all, at Howard, because they crazy at Howard, there were on the field at least 3 generations of Omegas, at least 3 of them. And I'm talking about there were old men that was 90 years old with some 18-year-olds, and they are out there stepping. They were just stepping. I mean, it was the most beautiful thing I ever seen in my life. Was all of these men. These are all educated black men who were having fun together. And then when the band played what was called the chair dance, the entire stadium, do-do-do, do-do-do. I mean, like, and then you realize the entire stadium is doing the dance.
That's right.
The entire, and I was like, what? Nobody told me. Look, it took me one time. And
yeah, you just need one.
You just need one time. And then after that, you know, those experiences stick with you.
Yeah, they do.
It's a culture that, like, this is what we do, and we bring our kids back, our grandchildren, our great grandkids, and we all gonna do this chair dance together because this is what happens. And then, of course, after the game, all of the step shows and all of the parties, like you going from one place to the next, and you're seeing all of these people, your friends, celebrities. You're like, oh, I'm just standing here with Mike Tyson. Ain't that something? You know, just I mean, it happened. Yeah. I met so many people there. It was ridiculous. But it's because black excellence is celebrated at HBCUs, and it's something that you just can't find in any other community. And I really want to make sure that we highlight that as much as possible. Highlight that to your children. Let them see that it's okay to take pride in who you are. It's okay to be proud of your culture and your heritage. This is one of the things that we learned, in addition to all of our academics in terms of chemistry, and for him and engineering, and I was a communications major. You know, they try to play us because they think we soft, but we smart too. It's fine. But we also learned about our history. It's something that you will not get at another institution. When I tell you Dr. Olive Taylor taught me history, again, see, this is what I'm saying. I know the names of my professors from Howard. I don't know them at Vanderbilt. I don't remember their names.
And history not just centered around slavery as well.
Yes. Right. I mean, when we got history from her, it was from Genesis. Her history was from Genesis to 1865.
Right.
She said, listen here, we gonna go all the way back to Egypt. We started this here in Egypt because this is where we came from. So Dr. Olive Taylor made sure that we understood it was black people that had the first irrigation system.
That's right.
It was black people that had the first thriving economy in Egypt. I mean, these are things that you don't get anywhere else. They're going to start history from when Alexander the Great, who plundered the Egyptians, they're going to start from him. Whereas, we go way back. And this is something that that we now understand that this is not something that we gain or garner from someone else. This is something that is deep within our DNA.
Yes.
Yeah. I think one of the things too that was really rich about that experience is it was the first time that I got a chance to meet people from continental Africa.
Yeah.
And we had the opportunity to experience and talk about the stereotypes and myths
Right.
from, you know, us in the diaspora and then them being from continental Africa.
Yeah,
And,
that's
and
good.
saying, hey, you know what, when we see you guys on TV, you guys, you know, we always see bush people. That's what they showed us in America.
Right.
And then when they came, they were like, well, you didn't know what your name was. Every time we turned on the TV, they were calling you something different. And so it was a really great experience to have that chemistry and have an opportunity to really talk to your brothers and sisters from continental Africa. It was so rich. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, that's good. That's real good. I think these are the stories that people need to hear. They need to know, so that they can say, hey, you know, I want to take my kid. I want to send my kid to an HBCU, and this gets into like, okay, well, how much is it gonna cost me to send my child?
That's right.
You know, so what I say to that is, you probably should prepare saving for that now while your children are young, so that because you're going to pay for school. I mean, what I found is a lot of parents are going to pay. You know, we have a different philosophy about that, but a lot of parents are going to pay for college. If you are one of those parents who plan to pay for your kids, look at what the cost of tuition is at an HBCU. Often they're cheaper than other predominantly white institutions if it's a public HBCU.
Right.
Private colleges like Howard is a private school, so it's more expensive. But these are things that you should consider in your college plan. Whatever your plan is for your kids, look at the tuition and then, you know, cross-reference it with the school, the other school that your children are looking at, and then take them on a tour there. Take them on a tour of Howard, of TSU, of FAMU, all the different schools, Hampton, you know, the not real HU. You want
Hampton is a wonderful school.
I know. To my friend Tiff, you know I love you, girl. She a pirate till she died.
That's right.
You know, all the Hampton Institute, you know, then changed to Hampton University. Yeah, that's why the battle of the HUs. But these are things though, like these are types of rivalries that we love to celebrate though. And you can only celebrate them for real if you went to an HBCU.
Yes.
So I really want us to do that. And so I want to kind of, you know, leave us on a fun note. Tell me, who do you think are one of the most famous celebrities that came out of your school?
Well, obviously, everybody knows Oprah Winfrey, who graduated from Tennessee.
But everybody
State.
doesn't know she went to TSU, though.
Everybody doesn't know she went to TSU. I would say one of the most notable graduates of Tennessee State University that I'd like to talk about, because was an engineering major, is Jesse Russell Sr., who at AT&T Bell Labs invented the cell phone.
Come on now.
And so many people don't know that the technology necessary for a cell phone to function was invented by a black man who was a graduate of Tennessee State University. I actually went to school with his son, Jesse Russell Jr. He was actually in my class. So that's something that I learned at an HBCU that gave me pride to become an electrical engineer, and to know that I had the intelligence to see it through to the end.
Yeah.
Come on.
That's good.
So that's who I would bring up.
Yeah, I mean, the notables, Nancy Wilson. I graduated with Omarosa in '96, so everybody knows Omarosa. And then Ronald Goldsberry, and the reason why I bring him up is a lot of people don't know who he is, but he was one of the first black executives at Ford Motor Company, went into engineering, and I was actually a recipient of his chemistry scholarship, who I owe a great deal, and it is my desire to do what he did for me, to pay that forward and to be able to offer another child or a young student a full scholarship. And so I want to honor him by recognizing Dr. Ronald D. Goldsberry and his chemistry scholarship and what he did for Ford and Ford Motor Company.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, you know, obviously at Howard, you know, there's like a million notable scholars and alumni. I mean, I'm only going to name a few. just a few. I mean,
Help
you know.
her, Lord Jesus.
She is a communications major, or was, right?
I mean, we're going to talk about the very first Black Supreme Court Justice, Mr. Thurgood Marshall, who, yes, he went to undergraduate at Lincoln, and then he went to Howard for law school.
What time is it?
Don't even start. You know, Felicia Rashad, Debbie Allen, great actresses of our time. Chadwick Boseman, a great actor. God rest his soul. We miss him so much.
Wakanda forever.
Wakanda forever. Notable alums.
Come on, the vice president.
I'm trying to get to her last. I was trying to get to other people before I got to her.
Madam Vice President.
Listen,
Hey.
but since they want to just get to the quick,
Hey.
Madam Vice President
Come on, that's
Kamala
good.
Harris.
That's
Come
good.
on. It's something that you need to know, but there are other alums of other HBCUs that are notable. Actually, Wilma Rudolph was
Olympic gold medalist.
Yeah, she was an Olympic gold medalist who went to Tennessee State University. Others like that you need to know right now, Stacey Abrams. Come on.
Yeah.
Went to Spelman. We talk about people like Keisha Lance Bottoms, who went to FAMU.
Yeah.
You know, these are people that you need to know. I mean, that they are doing some things right now.
Senator Warnock.
Yes, listen, Raphael Warnock went to Morehouse.
Morehouse, man.
Martin Luther King Jr. went
Man.
to Morehouse.
Right.
Yep.
These are notable people who have done extraordinary things that has shaped the trajectory of this country and shaped who we are right now. And these are just a few of the notable graduates of HBCUs in this country.
Right.
And I think this is worth noting that HBCUs, they create Black excellence. All of us in this room, I am not ashamed to say, are very well educated, very well established Black people in our respective fields. And it's because we have the foundation of an HBCU. It should not go unnoticed. And if you're worried about your child or your nephew, your cousin, your sister, your brother, and what type of education they are going to receive, please know they're going to get a better education because it'll be a well-rounded education if they go to an HBCU. I mean, you just need only look at, you know, the people in this room, the people that we just named, and many others who are out here making significant impact on our world, not just in this country, but abroad. Ralph Bunch, like it's so many people. And I really just want to lay this as a foundation that when you look at great Black people, probably they have a foundation somewhere at a HBCU. And I want to highlight that because this is something that we don't really talk about during Black History Month. We talk about all of the different people who have made an impact and, you know, with their inventions, but we don't really highlight the fact that most of them came from an HBCU.
Right.
Most of the notable people that we highlight every year during Black History Month went to an HBCU.
Right.
And so this is something that we celebrate here on Tea Time. This is something that is important to me. Having gone to an HBCU, married a man from an HBCU, you know, and I hope to send my children to an HBCU. It's something that I believe is important to who they are and something I believe is important to the fabric of this country. Any other closing words that you have about your HBCU or something you want to add about HBCUs in general?
I think, I believe that having gone to an HBCU, I know that I stand on broad shoulders. And I have a responsibility to the people that went before me to do more and to do better.
Yeah.
The motto of Tennessee State University and many of the HBCUs have this fiber in it, but the motto of Tennessee State University is think, work, and serve. So, you know, for me to even keep my scholarship, when I was a freshman, an upperclassman was my mentor. And I had to get a sign off from them to keep my scholarship throughout the semester. When I became an upperclassman, I had to be a mentor. I had to go into the community and be a math tutor at a local elementary school and a local middle school as a part of my scholarship. So
Community service, huge.
yeah, so community service was a part of my education. And so, you know, for example, now I'm the chairman of the Boys and Girls Club in this region, because giving back to the community and thinking about my community before I think about myself was a part of my education, though.
Yes.
And that's important. Many of us are me and mine centered.
Come on.
This is a church broadcast. Many of us are me and mine centered in the body of Christ, but Jesus taught us to be other-centered first.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I also learned that at an HBCU, to be other-centered. And there was a spirit, a sense about it that I need to build something for my community.
There's a sense of we.
Yes.
Yes.
Like we are doing something together and we need to leave a legacy.
Yep.
Legacy was a part of the HBCU experience, that word.
Yep.
So that's why I love HBCUs, because it gave me a sense of pride about the community that I came from, and it gave me a sense that I need to create something bigger than myself so that my community can prosper, excel, and advance in connection with that.
Yeah, and our motto was for God, for Central, for State. And so, hey, I can't tell you, if you can't get it from God, for Central, for State, what the priorities are for the students.
I mean,
there.
what school has that as the motto?
For God, for Central, for State.
HBCU.
Hey, come on. So if you know for convocation, you need to get there.
Yes.
You better get to convocation.
So it was ingrained in us. Like you said, our professors were there, and it was just a really rich experience for us to be there and give back. We had to do the same thing. I had to teach others, young kids, new students were coming. We had to be ambassadors. We had to show them the way. Young people would come, and we're like, hey, don't touch her doing the breezeway. Keep her safe. She cannot go home pregnant. No, right?
She must go home better than when
she
we
came.
received her.
That's right. And we were made. That's right. Honor we got from Central State University and that pride. So those were some things I remember.
Come on, HBCUs to honor and serve. So make sure that you at least look into it. Send your children, your cousins, help your nephew, your niece who wants to go. It's a great idea. So again, thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for tuning in for Tea Time with Tiff. I love being your host. I love that you come in. Thank you for supporting this broadcast. Thank you for tuning in every other week. I appreciate all of the love. Please be sure that you send me a message on all of my social media platforms, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm also on Clubhouse. Follow me on Clubhouse. I'm actually getting ready to start a room in Clubhouse on Tea Time. So please, you want to join me if you're an Apple user, you know what I'm talking about. So I look forward to seeing you all on Clubhouse and every other social media platform. Thank you and have a good night.
Tea time, tea with Tiff. Tea time, we're gonna talk about it. Tea time, take a sip. It's time to wind down, time to wise up. Discussing life, exploring the word, gaining wisdom with encouraging words. It's time for